our syndication force, and we are tickled to death. GCN is a tremendous group. Our friends at TalkStream Live and our group and the friends at GCN, it's a terrific team to move forward with, and we thank both those folks for working so closely with us. DanCofall.com is the website. And my buddy Gerald Celente is on. And I can't, I'm telling you, it is, I wait for weeks to get Gerald back on. I could talk to him for hours. He's so subtle. He's so understated. He has a problem expressing himself, as you'll see here soon. He just can't seem to get his point across. And so, he's a little low key for me. He is an American trend forecaster. He's publisher of the absolutely terrific publication Trends Journal. You can go out to his website, trendsresearch.com, and sign up for that. Business consultant and author. Makes predictions about the global financial markets and political events, other events of historical importance. You've seen him everywhere on CNN, Oprah Winfrey, Today Show, Good Morning America, CBS, Glenn Beck, Nightly News, Alex Jones. Normally when I listen to you, Gerald, it's on Alex's show, Coast to Coast AM, Russia Today. A terrific guest and a great American, Gerald Celente. How are you, my friend?
Oh, thank you very much. I'm fine. Thanks for having me on, Dan. It's very kind of you.
Well, I truly enjoy having you on. I have a bet with the folks in the studio here that normally you're calm and you're cool for about halfway through the first segment to the end of the first segment. I have a bet that it's only going to take me a minute to get you wound up. And so I want you to know I've got money on this. I got money riding on you, Joe.
All right.
Your latest article, Republicans and Democrats are thieves and murderers. Let me read a quote from your article. It said, as for our elected representatives, the Republicans and the Democrat, Gerald says, quote, they're murderers and thieves. They murder millions of people in the name of bringing freedom and democracy to a country near you. They steal our money in the name of too big to fail, loan guarantees, special tax breaks, and other dirty deals. And the people don't know it, and I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. It's all up to you.
Well, it is. I mean, it's not capitalism. People are saying, this is a failure of capitalism. It's not. In capitalism, there is no such thing as too big to fail. And when I talk about murderers and thieves, they just came out with a study. Again, with the thieves, I mean, they rob our money and give it to the banks. They've only become bigger. They've put all this quantitative easing out there that has enriched the filthy rich already, and I'm not making that up. I mean, whether you read my work, David Stockman's work, Paul Craig Roberts, there are a number of us out there that are showing the facts, and the facts are that all of this cheap money has allowed the speculators on the market to borrow money for nothing, do great merger and acquisition deals, and buy back their stocks in big companies. And you look at the other numbers where, since 2009, 95% of the increases in wealth went to 1%. I'm not making that up. I'm not making up that the gap between the rich and the poor is the widest in the United States than any industrial nation. I'm not making it up that the gap between the rich and the poor is the widest since the Gilded Age. I'm not making it up that some 85 people in the world have more money than half the world's population.
Amazing.
So that's the thievery. And these record low interest rates, they're hurting the common person. They used to put money in the bank and get savings for it with interest. And now you put it in the bank, you get nothing back. And if you're in Europe, you pay to keep it there.
Stealing the future of people that are near retirement or in retirement that had planned to earn 4, 5, 6, 8% historical numbers on their investments. One person, the head of the Federal Reserve, has kept interest rates down. Zip, zero interest rate policy, NERP, negative interest rate policy. They are wiping out our retired class and are about to become retired class.
Exactly. It's right in front of us. So they're thieves, and they're giving it to the Wall Street charlatans, and the private equity groups and the big stock companies. So it's there. As for the murder, Physicians for Social Responsibility just came out with a study, and they say they're underestimating it, but some 2 million people have been killed by the United States over the last decade. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya, and on and on and on. And again, the fact of the matter is, it's a fact. It's an indisputable fact. Saddam Hussein did not have weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. Indisputable fact. Who knew what, when? They won't let us find out, we the people. But remember, if you break the law, we're going to enforce it to the letter of the law. But be that as it may, we're the top guys. I'm like a Hillary Clinton. I don't have to show you my emails. I'll erase them. The heck with you. So they have a different playing field. So having said that, you look at the murders in Afghanistan, you look at Iraq, you look at Libya, the humanitarian mission. The humanitarian mission that killed over 30,000 people. You know, Dan, I don't understand why they hate us. I can't figure it out. You know, really, I mean it. They only killed 1 million people in Iraq on a war based on things that we shouldn't be there for because they didn't have those, and that was what they sold us the war for. Not that the world is better off without Saddam Hussein. That's a lot of baloney. That wasn't the issue. We all know the real fact.
Sure.
So now you've killed over 1 million people. You've destroyed the country. The entire joint is destroyed. People you love are dead, and you have no future. Hey, you think you want to get even? And now we're doing it with Yemen. And this is not making the news, and this is big news. And I wrote about this back in the Trends Journal back in 2009 when Saudi Arabia invaded North Yemen to wipe out the Houthi tribe who they've been having disputes with. And now they're making it seem like Iran is backing them, and you read all the data, whether even it's coming from our former ambassador to Yemen, this is not Iranian. This has been going on for years. The Saudi king invaded Yemen back in 1939. And I love this king stuff. Do you think that Obama and Hillary Clinton and everybody sending all their best wishes to the new king and the condolences for the old one and our Secretary of States, male and female, past and present, going over there and kissing the new king's ring? What's this king stuff? What did a princess kiss a frog and the frog became a prince and then a king? How about a dictator? Can anybody say that? The royal flush, right down the crapper, man. And that's all this is. A brutal dictator. Hey, they talk about ISIS chopping people's heads off. Can't beat the Saudis, man. They got 36 done already this year, beating last year's record of beheadings that were 87.
Hey, hold on. We've only got about 30 seconds left. Let's not forget about the United States and the NDAA. They can start to, if they get concerned that they're running behind Saudi, beheading 36 people, the U.S. can catch up very quickly and legally because of this NDAA. I want to take a quick break, Gerald. When we come back, I'd like to discuss with you the concept of nullification, but also I want to talk to you about Jade Helm, JH15. And your thoughts about why this is not a good thing for the country. Folks, we're going to be right back with Gerald Celente after a very quick break. DanCofall.com. We'll be right back. Central banks guarantee that inflation is in the cards. Risks have never been greater and yields have never been lower. How do you ensure your financial future? Gold and silver, especially at today's lower prices, are the best investment insurance you can buy. For 5,000 years, gold has been a vessel of wealth preservation over all other investments. Invest in the real wealth that is gold bullion. We are the Metals Vault. We provide outstanding pricing and service that is second to none. Call us today at 855-REAL-WEALTH. That's the Metals Vault, 855-REAL-WEALTH, a proud sponsor of the Dan Cofall Show.
Talk to Dan now and join the show at 877-3-COFALL.
United Texas town.
Too long to let this thing go much further. This is Dan Cofall, the Dan Cofall Show, DanCofall.com, and my buddy Gerald Celente is on with us right now. Trends, American Trend Forecaster. Go to the website trendsresearch.com, trendsresearch.com, and learn more about Trends Journal. Sign up for it. I promise you'll like it. I get it every month. And I sit and I consume it as soon as I get it. Gerald, hi, welcome back, buddy.
Hi, Dan. Dan, I really the reason I'm bringing up Yemen, it's very important because the United States, the ambassador to Yemen announced they were attacking Yemen from Washington.
Right.
And Washington announced that we are providing reconnaissance, refueling, and intelligence. But they're saying that we're not involved in this. That's like driving the getaway car of a robbery, and saying you're not involved. And I'm saying this because the Houthis have now promised revenge against Saudi Arabia. And if that's an attack on the oil fields, at a time when our global economy is shaky at best, this could be the kind of thing that could take that shake into a real big rattle, and even a decline that could send it into a downward spiral. And it's not being looked at in the news. They are pledging retaliatory strikes. One of the things I do is I go through tons of news. Every day I get hard copy delivered of newspapers, including the New York Times, Financial Times, New York Times. But when I go online and an issue like this is breaking, I go to Gulf Arab News, I go to Fars News Agency, I go to Al Jazeera, I go to the Israelis, Haaretz, Jerusalem Post. I cover the world, and I want to look for the information that I can't find from a couple of sources and look for those obscure pieces of information that bring the story together. And here is a quote. Any ground attack on Yemen will receive a rigidly harsh response, the Houthis have said, and they said we have not responded to the Saudi aggressions in the past 5 days because we wanted to allow the Arab countries to reconsider their action and stop their attacks. But from now on, everything will be different.
Profound.
So this is big, and it's not making the news. And the little news that's being spun is mostly propaganda from the States.
So where does this go, Gerald? You've got a great vision into the future. Although I got to admit, the Middle East is the most confusing thing I've ever seen right now. Where does this go? Can Obama turn over control of the Middle East to Iran? I thought Iran.
That's what I'm saying. This isn't Iran. This is not. That's what's being sold. These are, as I mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia. The Saudi king attacked Yemen. Used to be called Aden before. This is you know what all this is a consequence of, Dan? It's a consequence of World War I, the breakup of the Ottoman Empire, and the Sykes-Picot, the Englishman and the French guy, redrawing the map of the Middle East, making countries that never existed anymore. Just look at the lines on the borders, like Iraq and all these countries. Hand me the T-square, Let me draw a straight line. I mean, you look at this. This is all blowback. There was no Saudi Arabia. They're making this stuff up. And now these people are fighting with each other. And we're becoming involved in it, and we can't fix Detroit. We're going to fix these countries. And the other issue about this is that people forget as well, there was something called the Egyptian Vietnam. Egypt invaded Yemen back in the 1960s. Iran had nothing to do with it. And they brought in 70,000 men. They lost nearly 30,000. And they lost everything. They came back with nothing. What I'm saying is these are ongoing wars, and they're throwing out the sound bites. We cannot fix this. We're back in Iraq. Obama said he was going to be pulling out of Afghanistan. And now the troops are staying. So there's no way out, and that's why, as an American who loves my country and honors thy founding fathers, I believe in what George Washington, Jefferson, Madison, Adams, Franklin, one after another, said no foreign entanglements, and the world was at war back then.
So where did these negotiations that were supposed to end on the 31st, John Kerry extends them. You've got people coming out of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard saying no matter what kind of agreement we have, we're still going to destroy Israel. None of this makes any sense to the 320 million Americans sitting here looking at it from the outside. How in the world are we supposed to trust our negotiator, John Kerry and Barack Obama, when Iran is saying death to Israel? Right, and
but again, that's one part. It's one guy saying that. It's not the entire country. And again, we cannot fix this. Look what they're doing with Ukraine. The information we're getting from the States is totally different than the information that I've been writing about, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. Again, these are issues that are not solvable. We are not here. They just today, you're talking about a deadline. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, has just been formally created. 46 members. The United States was against it. Think of the name, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank.
Right.
You know who's joining it? South Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Israel, one after another.
France, Germany, England, Australia.
Exactly. Now think of the name, Infrastructure Investment Bank. China has, over the last 10 years, invested an estimated 8.5% of their GDP into their infrastructure. In the United States, we invested the grand total of 0.065%. I was down in New York City yesterday. I'm just north of the city. I am telling you, and I'm not exaggerating, potholes that you could barely see the bottom of. This is in the city. I'm not kidding. The roads here are all torn up from it's a joke. You take those subways over here, we're speeding into the 20th century barely, let alone the 20th.
Oh, yeah,
the whole country's rotting.
When you talk
about fighting wars,
when you talk about the investment bank, that is a parallel bank to the World Bank from the Western countries. And Obama thought that he could pressure the countries around the world not to participate in this. Well, now you've got this Asian investment bank with Russia and China providing hundreds of billions of dollars in financing to it. Russia and China aren't kidding around on this. This is not some sort of April Fool's negotiating position. The majority of the countries in the world that have any kind of resources at all have joined this, and then the U.S. just joined it reluctantly. I can't get over that.
Again, you saw what happened when they tried to pressure the countries not to join, as you point out, and they did, one after another. You see, the business of China is business, and the business of America has become war.
Yep.
That's all I'm telling you. I did a talk at a high school over here in as a to help these kids out in Queens in the city, Jamaica. There were 4 cops. There's metal detectors. These cops sitting around taking information on everybody that walks in. There's a high school. It's a high school. When did this happen? Look what's happening to this country. I mean, school is like prison to me anyway, but this is for real.
Metal detectors, pat downs, absolutely.
So that's what this country is becoming. It's in a state of fear and a state of war. To me, it's rebuild America. Bring home the troops. Put a WPA program like, what's his name had, Franklin Roosevelt. But put the troops to work rebuilding this country, the infrastructure, the roads, the rail, everything, and also seal the borders.
Gerald, we got to take one more break right here. We're going to be right back. When we come back, talk about more that's good for America or bad for America, and that is Jade Helm, this southwestern United States military exercise. Absurdity upon absurdity. We'll be right back.
Stole my heart. You're taking through it in your getaway car.
Would you like to see how real professionals manage money and risk? Hi, this is Danny Stewart, President and Chief Investment Officer at NORAM Asset Management. At NORAM, we employ tested and proven stock and option strategies to maximize success while limiting downside risk. If you would like to visit us during live market hours, we would be happy to show you how we work. To schedule a time, just go to noramasset.com. or call me at 855-REAL-WEALTH. Again, that's 855-REAL-WEALTH.
This is the Dan Cofall Show, a place where liberty and freedom ring.
Nothing here to see, just a kill I know, trying to cut some teeth, trying to figure it out.
Gerald Celente is our guest. You can go to the website trendsresearch.com. The best, I think, forecaster out there, and a terrific publication, Trends Journal. Go out and take a look at that. Always a great pleasure having Gerald on. All right, my friend, we've only got about maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and I want to spend about half of that, if we could, Gerald, on JH15, Jade Helm 15. I am concerned about this, like many Americans are. This certainly feels like a dry run at a takeover of this country by the federal government. How can I not feel this way, Gerald? I mean, do you feel this way? Do you feel this is martial law in the making?
I know it is martial law in the making. I just mentioned to you what you go into high schools now, and there are police everywhere. It's the militarization of this country, and that's what they've put it in our heads. And you're looking at it. You mentioned the National Defense Authorization Act. Where Obama signed the one on New Year's Eve 2011 when no one was paying attention, and they could take you to jail. And not to jail, they could take you anywhere they want. No judge, no lawyer, no charges, no jury, no writs of habeas corpus. And I really believe that what we're going to start seeing as the economies continue to break down, they're going to break down the people's will with this kind of militarization.
So here's my question, Gerald. If I know you and I and friends of ours are going to stay and fight this thing out, and no matter what happens, what about the average American who says, my God, I have kids, I've got this, I've got that, and they're scared about living in America? Is it better to stay, or is it better to go for the average American out there?
Well, I told a story. I came back from Berlin. And the exact date was April 27th, 2012. And I was looking to leave the country. I was doing business in Berlin, but I was down in Argentina and Uruguay, Chile. And, I had enough. And I came back, and a building was for sale. After I saw Berlin, I said, how could they let a two-bit freak destroy their country like Hitler? And me being of Italian descent, how could they let a Mussolini destroy their country? Anyway, a building right next to mine went up for sale, and it's a 1750s Franz Roggen house.
Right.
And I bought it. And I ended up buying 3 others on the most historic four corners in the United States, 1774 and 1763. And I said to myself, you can't run away. There are two-bit freaks everywhere. This is my country. I'm an American. I could never be me if I was born anywhere else. And I've had it with these people. Love it or leave it. No, you got it wrong. You leave it. I love it. You're the people that are changing everything this country was founded upon and making it something new. So when we talk about a revolution, I want to see a spiritual, emotional, and intellectual revolution. I want to honor thy founding fathers and the things that they brought to this country to make it what it was. And I don't want to hear the arguments about, I know the terrible things that happened as well. But having said that, we were the land of opportunity. We were the envy of the world. And now we're becoming the laughing stock. We're doing exactly what Eisenhower warned us about. The military-industrial complex is robbing us of the genius of the scientists, the sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. As I mentioned before, I want to bring home the troops. I want to seal the borders, and I want to rebuild America. Put back in place the laws, the tariffs that prohibited slave labor countries from bringing their product here and to undercut our manufacturing and work base. Put it back the way it used to be. How do you change your life when it's going the wrong way? You stop doing the things that are destroying it, and you do the things that made it better.
Will American troops act against Americans on American soil?
Yes, and I believe the police are already, and they're trained as such. Particularly, a lot of these troops that are going overseas, that are they're in a war zone, and a lot of them are whacked out on these psychotropic drugs. They're a lot of people are on steroids, and it's a whole different world. Look at the way the police dress, for God's sakes. They're just like stormtroopers.
So how do we get to the point, Gerald, when you say you want to make these changes? My concern is that we're right on the edge of a developing tyranny. We've been in a soft tyranny for years and for decades, but this is really controlling Americans' lives. How in the world do we reach out and change the process when it looks like this is the beginning of a long, long process? It's almost like a forest fire that has to burn itself out. Am I missing something there? How do we get involved right now?
I think we need a new third party. The elections are coming up, and I think that's the way to mobilize right now. Who, I don't know, is the person to represent we the people. But I've never seen an opportunity greater than now. And, one of my ways I became known as a trend forecaster was when I wrote the book Trend Tracking back in the late 80s. I had predicted a new third party to 92 elections. And for some reason, I mentioned Ross Perot.
Sure.
I think those times are greater than ever before. Look, we had a midterm election. 74% of the people stayed home. If we reported that from another country, we'd laugh at it. That's how disgusted the people are with what's going on. The opportunity's never been greater. And for every individual that's listening and learning to do the best that they can do, when enough people change, everything changes. But that means getting in shape, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And let's stop, if people are going to call themselves Christians, consider doing what Christ would do. And what would he do in a situation like this? Or whatever religion you believe in. What are really the foundations of it? People say to me, Gerald, do you still go to church? No, I don't do that anymore. How come? I said, listen, I'm a believer in Christ. I'm just not a believer in the teachers of what Christ is teaching. I don't believe what they're teaching. It's not the way I interpret it. And so what I'm saying is that everybody has to get back onto a moral, spiritual, and intellectual basis, and to get in shape physically. That's a big part of it.
It's going to be hard to do that with the oppression that is coming. I don't know how to stand off this oppression. It does feel like you're going to have to let it burn through, and that could be generations.
No, if it burns through, it only keeps burning deeper. Things don't get better because they get worse. They get worse and they get worser. It doesn't turn around. I believe, Dan, the opportunity is greater now than ever. Again, we write about it in the Trends Journal, bringing back dignity to the office. Could you imagine Eisenhower sitting on with late-night TV clowns like our past presidents do? Could you imagine Mamie Eisenhower doing a boogie with some two-bit comic?
That's exactly right. No, I can't.
So let's bring back elegance. Let's bring back beauty. Let's bring back art.
Do you think there's somebody waiting in the wings, Gerald, like a Ross Perot that will take the race seriously?
I really do. When the people are ready, the teacher appears, is that saying, you know?
That's right.
And I believe when the people are ready, the teacher will appear.
Do you think in time for do you think there'll be a 2016 election, Gerald?
Yeah, I do. But what election do we have? We don't have a two-party system. We got a two-family system.
Hillary is I'm down to 2 minutes, so I'm just kind of shotgunning some questions at you. Can Hillary survive all the scandals that she's facing right now? Will she be the nominee, do you think?
I don't know if she'll be the nominee, but yeah, people aren't that tuned in, and then they keep playing the simple cards. They run the campaigns based on the things they know people want to hear, and they repeat them. By the way, just in a little other short amount of time,
Sure.
the markets, the volatility in these markets are unprecedented.
That's right.
And we're looking 200, one day 200 down, 250 up, 150 down. We're looking oil going all over the place. And this is the volatility, and that's what I'm saying. If there's an outside geopolitical shot, you saw what gold is doing. Gold is, boom, all of a sudden, I haven't seen a $20 rise in gold in a while.
Yep.
So demand for gold in the Asian countries is growing, and physical gold. And the new report that came out by the Goldman Sachs gang of all people are saying there may not be mineable gold in 20 years.
Yeah, I saw that. Gerald, I'm down to less than a minute. Let me throw something out for you to chew on, and maybe next time we talk, you can give me your perspective. I think Hillary is going to be a nominee, but I think she'll be a nominee for vice president, not for president. They'll run somebody else as president. It'll still be Hillary running it. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Huey Long in Louisiana when he couldn't win as governor, so he ran as lieutenant governor, put his lieutenant governor in as governor, and they got elected. This is what it looks like to me, that Hillary will still be in that White House in 2016.
I don't think so. I don't think she'd run as vice president. She's too power hungry.
Yeah, maybe, but if they told people it was her deal. Well, look, Gerald, I'm out of time, my friend. Gerald Celente, absolutely a pleasure every time we talk, Gerald.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
Trendsresearch.com. Please go out and check it out. Trends Journal is the publication, and we'll bring Gerald on much more frequently. Gerald, God bless. Have a great week.